We've now gotten to the point that if these VHS movies continue to climb up through the years, it won't be long before the series is called DVD, and that just doesn't have the... We've now gotten to the point that if these VHS movies continue to climb up through the years, it won't be long before the series is called DVD, and that just doesn't have the same ring to it. Now at the 5th entry in the series, with no signs of it slowing down, VHS 99 asks the question, what if we made a bunch of short films and put them together? But again, that's right, 5 times they've asked that same question, and 5 times they've had the same answer. Short films. And when it comes to the VHS series, fun is really the aim here. Sure, there's more entries than meaningful relationships I've had in my life, but they do contain their fair share of gold. Naked Flying Demon Lady, gold. Birthing Literal Lucifer, gold. Pokemon Sewer Edition, gold. Everything else? Well, much like child labor, it's only a good idea in principle. So the real question is, how do I get this weird lump off my testicle, and how does VHS 99 hold up against its predecessors? Well, the answer is about the same actually. And the second real question, that I'm sure is on absolutely everyone's mind, what is today's sponsor? Well, thanks for asking. It's Raycon bonus, I guess. So if you're interested in getting Raycons in ear, checking out Raycon Purchase. The first film is called The Shredding, and is a character study of what happens if you watch CKY and are not spanked enough as a child. The story follows a band named RAC, an acronym for all of the members' names, Rachel, Anchor, Chris and Caleb, as they plan to break into a venue that burnt down 3 years ago, where all 4 members of the headlining band became awfully intimate with the smell of burning flesh. Their flesh. Anchor's having second thoughts about the whole breaking and entering to desecrate the dead thing, as he's familiar with Hindu stories that depict people being possessed due to disrupting spirits. He goes home to retrieve some spices first, because burnt meat always tastes better with it, and to ward off any no-gooders. After finding a boot melted to the floor, the very well emotionally adjusted Chris walks backwards while mocking one of the survivors, before then suddenly being pulled into another room, with them all just playing it off as him just tripping. Yeah, tripping over a demon. They start playing to a grand total of -4 people, and prank Anchor by simultaneously stopping and pretending that they've been possessed, which possesses Anchor to get up and leave them here after Rachel comes up with a top-of-the-line insult and calls him Spice Boy. With Anchor now gone, they then think how they could possibly make this any more disrespectful, before blowing up 4 dolls, like the one you have under your bed, filling them up with jelly, and reenacting the band members' deaths, because I guess someone didn't love them enough when they were children. Suddenly, Caleb's thrown up into the air and explodes right in front of Rachel and Chris, almost as if doing this was a bad idea. Chris runs off, and Rachel watches on in horror as something picks up the camera and takes it towards the burnt, rotten corpses of the band members that died 3 years ago. And once the band members have the camera, they do a play or die chant that we saw them do earlier, before then taking the camera and filming Chris up against a wall, where they decide to tickle his intestines and non-consensually remove his head. And we see one of the other dead band members filming themselves in a mirror as Anchor cries in the corner next to her, because I guess when he said he was going to leave, what he really meant was that he's not going to leave. Using the spices, he throws them into the face of one of the band members, and her face begins to melt off. Again, we then see Rachel's various body parts are thrown into the frame, before we see them all put back together, getting to finally finish the song that they started earlier. The next short film is named Not Alive Anymore by Their Own Doing, BID, because YouTube really doesn't like it when you say the big S. The story surrounds a college freshman named Lily and her desire to join a popular sorority. And for the people who are unfamiliar, sororities are like cults, but for kids. It cuts to Lily drunk with the girls she wants to join, as they've ensured that she's sufficiently inebriated so they can continue the tradition of one of my favourite pastimes. Put a living thing in a box and bury it underground with no breathing holes. Apparently 20 years ago, girls from this exact same sorority conducted a hazing ritual, aka bullying but with a hint of fun, where they buried a girl named Guillotine alive in a coffin, and if she made it through the night, then she was accepted into the sorority. But apparently while doing so, all members of the sorority suffered from the effects of late-stage dementia and just kinda forgot about her. It happens. And when they came back a week later, fully expecting to uncover Guillotine bearing a striking resemblance to a raisin, they found nothing. So they tell Lily if she wants to join the sorority, then she needs to spend one night in the coffin. It'll be easy. She'll be surrounded by people who have been doing it for years. There's a rope attached to a bell that she can ring if she wants to give up her chance to forfeit being friends with a group of people who are taking advantage of her for their own amusement. She's then given a box and told to only open it when you're at your most scared and about to give up. I hope it's a puppy. But before she gets in, she's told that if she hears any knocking on the coffin, it's Guillotine coming to take her to the underworld, or someone next door telling her she's making too much noise. They hand her a camera, she climbs in, and they start to cover the coffin with a little bit of dirt. And after about 10 minutes of these girls hanging out in a graveyard, as you do, they start to scare Lily by scratching at the coffin and hitting it with a stick. Terrified, she opens the box to find not a puppy, but multiple spiders that she's now trapped inside a coffin with, is what I would say, but it turns out that they're trapped in with her, as she crushes them to death after one gives her a nice big kiss. She rings the bell, but the girls are having far too much fun dancing in the rain, because I guess that's a thing people do when torturing someone. But suddenly they're forced to run off and untie the bell after a police car arrives, with them saying that they're going to come back later. Now all alone with it raining, water begins leaking into the coffin as Lily's about to be given the forbidden bath, when suddenly the top cracks open and more water begins to pour in. After hearing scratches on the wood, she looks up to see this pretty face staring right back at her, before that creature then breaks into the coffin, disgusting Lily with its horrible breath. We then see the girls come back the next morning to find that Lily's either had too much fun with some chocolate milk, or she's drowned in the rainwater. After jumping in and confirming that she's gone, they vow to never speak another word of this again, before it cuts to them each in their own coffin, buried underground. After thinking that their dorm rooms are looking kinda funny today, Lily suddenly appears in one of the coffins, telling the girl that she made a deal with Guillotine. She said that if she can go free, then she'll bring the entire sorority instead, before turning to see Guillotine as a spider crawls out of her mouth as she's forgotten how to eat properly. The next short film is Ozzy's Dungeon, a film about a children's game show hosted by Trevor from GTA 5. So do with that information what you will. The idea of the game is that the children must complete a handful of generic 90s children game show activities, like throwing chicken into a black person's mouth. Once again, do with that information what you will. But whoever makes it to the end is then granted a wish by the mystical Ozzy. But if it's anything like British children game shows, you're not going to be the one granted the wish. The final two contestants are Donna and Timmy, and all they need to do is to be the first person to make it to the end of an obstacle course to be then granted their wish. But Donna struggles with this activity on account of her now having 3 legs, when she very much should just have 2. They say more is better, but apparently that doesn't apply to bones when they spontaneously decide to multiply. And while Donna's sliding around on the floor in all of her internal liquid, trying to desperately carry on with her extra floppy appendage, the show just kinda goes on. The camera then pulls away from a TV displaying that footage to reveal the host of the show locked in a dog cage surrounded by members of Donna's family. We see Donna now in a wheelchair after listening to My Chemical Romance once, and much like any good family gathering, the mother decides to take her shirt off for some reason, after Donna shows her leg looking like some beef jerky. The mother has the host tied to a pipe and threatens him with a bottle of acid in what I can only assume is an act of revenge for him daring to do his job as a TV host and hosting a TV show. She then shows him what it's like to walk down the average British street as her son runs at him while wearing a helmet with protruding knives. After rubbing meat into his face and him puking from the presumably fast-acting salmonella, she has him climb through her own version of the obstacle course, which involves walking through broken glass, sliding into a pool of precariously sourced feces, and crawling through a pool of more precariously sourced feces. He doesn't manage to finish the course in time, so in response, the mother is about to inject something into his face, but having one too many shots of Botox already this month, he tells the mother that he can take them to Aussie, and they can get their wish granted. It's like Make-A-Wish Foundation, with slightly more human excrement. They arrive at the set in the middle of the night, and after walking through it and knocking on a large door, the woman who appeared in the show earlier opens it for them as she takes her job incredibly seriously, or there's something else going on here. They then find themselves in a real cave before a young child runs right past them. You know what? This is starting to sound an awful lot like those British children game shows. They then enter a room containing what appears to be a large topless woman lying in the middle, surrounded by people. After being taken to the woman, Donna leans in and whispers to her before she then then begins to grunt as if those fiber pills have suddenly decided to kick in. Then out of nowhere, her stomach bursts open, with what can only be described as not good emerging from it and melting everybody's face off, with the short film then coming to an end, with it zooming in to Donna's smiling face as she's finally found what brings her joy in life: dead parents. The fourth short film is about a couple of young, rambunctious teenagers committing perverted crimes. It follows Dylan and his friends getting up to all manners of juvenile delinquencies, like taking a handbrake off a delivery truck and snapping their arms in half at the skate park. They find out about a woman named Sandra who's just moved in down the street from Dylan's house, and in their small little minds, that means secretly recording her as she lounges in the pool and cleans her car, instead of, talking to a woman. Gross. They watch from Dylan's room as the same delivery driver drops off an iMac for Sandra before she approaches Dylan's younger brother Brady, and much to the surprise of the teens, she takes Brady inside her house. They later find out that she wants him to help set up her webcam, so they manage to convince an apprehensive Brady to go round later that evening and to install spyware on her computer while she's in the other room, with somehow the most unrealistic part of it. This being the lightning-fast install time on hardware from the late 90s. They get exactly what they want, and get to watch as she removes her clothes to get ready for a shower. But things take a turn, as it doesn't just stop at her t-shirt. She then proceeds to remove her skin clothes, and after taking off her wig, snakes begin to emerge from her skull, like the story of Medusa. They then suddenly hear something on their roof, and unfortunately for them, Santa hasn't come early. Sandra jumps through their bedroom window and tears one of them to pieces as another tries to attack her with a hammer. She chases them out of the room with her cooties, killing one as she does, before cornering Brady and Dylan at the front door and turning them both into stone. That's not the first time she's made them rock hard. The fifth and final short film, and arguably my favourite, is To Hell and Back, a story about two best friend videographers, Nate and Troy, who have been hired by a coven of witches to record them attempting to summon a demon on New Year's Eve. They interview a woman named Kristen, who's volunteered herself to be the vessel between our world and theirs, and she's looking a bit too happy about it, and almost immediately After beginning their session, Troy spots someone or something behind the TV in the corner, looking like my local spice head that I see outside of the shop. It's an uninvited demon named Furcus, who was apparently given the witches problems in the past. But as they begin to cast it out, Furcus suddenly appears beneath the table, grabbing both Nate and Troy before they're cast away. They're in the bad place. And no, not in the back room alone with a local priest, but hell. After seeing all manner of horrifying things, including a pile of various viscera, a naked winged creature, and a woman, they pick up a trident off the floor and turn their light off and hide, before realizing that they're hiding right next to 3 people impaled on top of each other, and not like the kind you'd find on those naughty sites. They then look up to see Big Lucy himself, before being waved down by a woman. Her name's Mabel, and apparently she's been here for an awfully long time, due to her dialect containing a lot of these and thys. After realizing that they were sent to hell with the demon who was holding them, they remember that the witches will be attempting to summon a demon named Ukobon at the strike of midnight. So using the logic that brought them here in the first place, if they're touching him at midnight, then hopefully they'll be sent back. Mabel agrees to take them to Ukobon, as long as they promise to write her name in the Book of the Witches. And on their way, they come across someone who's watched one too many Big Will videos, immediately followed by Troy putting his hand in a trap. After coming across Mabel helping herself to a nice healthy portion of fried human, they hear a loud commanding voice telling Mabel to return before she disappears. They hear a woman's voice calling out for help, and thinking it's Mabel, Troy walks towards it, and comes face to face with this multiple-breasted, short arm-having, stumpy-tailed thing. They find Mabel again, and without hesitation she pulls the trap from Troy's hand, before they're then forced to climb through the back entrance of Ukobon's dwelling, which seems to also serve as the lavatory to Ukobon's dwelling. They find Gollum's half-brother Greg, and steal a mini trident from what looks to be a living breathing fetus, like stealing weaponry from a baby. They find Ukobon, but realizing they've only got 80 seconds till midnight, when the witches are going to call him through, they're spotted by his minions and a scuffle ensues, with somehow these 2 random guys being able to defeat a handful of Hellspawn with their kitchen utensils, before Mabel's killed by some sort of other creature, and they're forced to grab onto Ukobon to be transported back to their world, where they're then immediately killed, after Nate somehow switches positions with Ukobon and is now in the body of the vessel. But right before Troy dies, he fulfills Mabel's final wish, and writes her name in the witch's book with his own blood. That's pretty metal. And the movie then comes to an end, with audio being heard in the post-credits, depicting the witches now summoning Mabel.
Mabel.
Before we finish things up, I'd like to just give a massive thank you to all YouTube members and patrons, the people who every month help support this channel, when YouTube have made it incredibly clear to me that they're not exactly fond of this type of content. If you're interested in becoming a YouTube member or a patron, not only do you get access to uncensored versions of videos, but you also get access to the private Discord server. So I just want to give a big thank you to the YouTube members and patrons who signed up this week. Starting with the YouTube members, a massive thank you to Harry Skinner, It's Dead, Hurley 08111, Kit Kitty Kit Kit, Rick Bentz, Samurai Dude.